Take projection.
It's Wednesday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And we've got a lot to cover today, and we're going to get right into it. We've got, within an hour or two of when we're done recording this, NXT is up against AEW on TV tonight because of the playoffs, and it looks like NXT is pulling out a lot of the cards and big names to try to get a win over AEW in the ratings. Rumors of The Undertaker being back. So about the time we probably wrap this up is when the show starts. So y'all won't hear our take on it until a week from today.
Yeah, you, the listener, are living in the future right now.
Yeah.
From where we're at. You will know the outcome of all this. I anticipate that NXT is going to beat AEW in the ratings tonight.
Yeah, probably.
And I think WWE knows that, which is why, like you said, the rumor of Undertaker, Becky Lynch is on the card, John Cena, Paul Heyman. I mean, you got Carmelo, Braun Breaker. Everybody is on this card tonight.
Yeah.
First half hours commercial free.
Then AEW
And then
announced.
AEW responded, first half hours commercial free. They got a 10-minute run over tonight that they're supposedly doing. The reason we wanted to talk about this, though, is because, like, there's been a lot of talk recently, this past weekend, of the business models and just the state of the business of both WWE and AEW. Obviously, WWE, business-wise, is head and shoulders above AEW. I mean, they are a billion-dollar company. Even a thing like Fastlane, which we'll talk about, which we both thought was kind of mediocre, still a sellout crowd.
Yeah,
for the card.
15,000, right?
And our guy Ricky Starks, who we'll talk about, wins the title on Collision, and literally looks like nobody was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw some shots of the crowd on TikTok, and it was pretty empty looking.
Looked bad. Looked really, really bad.
You know, we were talking about this, how would it work during football season and how would they compete, you know? And we talked about, you know, WWE doesn't plan a lot during football season. They just kind of keep things moving, you know, but the ratings and the ticket sales for Collision were not great before football season started. So, you know, they're putting on good shows, but it's a lot to compete with, you know, on the weekends.
Well, clearly something is not clicking. Like we had talked about before we started recording. AEW is not in the position that they were when Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson walked through the door and came into the company. That was probably the peak of AEW, and a lot of fans have said that. They've since fallen off I won't say fallen off a cliff. They have not reached those peaks consistently. Now, they've gotten there with moments and with matches and things like that, but something is not working. They have not grown this tent, expanded this tent to where they brought in more fans. The ratings have been stagnant, you know, to worse. They haven't risen at all.
Yeah, it's kind of weird seeing, you know, a super empty arena like that, basically on the heels of Wembley a month ago, you know, ish.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy high and a low. So I guess the big question is this. If Tony wakes up Wednesday morning, he gets the television ratings from the night before, and NXT has just obliterated AEW, what happens next? Do they panic and change things up? Do they look at it and say, hey, this is a one-off, like, we got some good stuff coming up, let's just stay the course? What happens? Because, like I mentioned, something is not working, something's not clicking. I don't think the shows are necessarily bad, but are they as good as what they could be? I mean, no. I mean, but that's for both shows, right? But WWE is in a position where they have a 50-year head start.
Mm-hmm.
They are the number one company in the world of professional wrestling. To a lot of people, they are pro wrestling.
Yeah.
So they can afford to do what they've done these last couple of weeks and kind of just be in a little bit of a lull. But then they announced Friday night Roman Reigns is coming back, and we're going to be, you know, full steam ahead to Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. That's right around the corner. AEW does not have that luxury. You know, they're an alternative. They are going to be seen no matter what as second class. Like, they are the Pepsi to WWE's Coke. But a lot of people like Pepsi. Pepsi still makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So there's a market for that. I think it's just what is going to happen? What needs to change?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What would your solution be?
Well, it's like I said before we start rolling, like you just gave money, like you gave money to the Young Bucks, Adam Page, Kenny Omega. Like, are they worth it?
Mox re-signed last year, right?
Mox, I think, is worth it because Mox has a name from WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has an appeal to just the casual wrestling fan. But, like, I get that the Young Bucks and Kenny and Hangman, they were all integral, and Cody were all integral to starting this company. But, like, at some point, Tony has to be a businessman, right? And look and say, okay,
something
is it working? Yeah. And, like, what do we have to change? Like, I think AEW, this might sound blasphemous, I think AEW could afford to not have the Young Bucks around.
Yeah, I mean,
I think AEW could afford to not have an Hangman Page around. I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm fans of those people.
I would be way more upset to see Hangman go.
The one person out of that group, I don't think they can lose Kenny, because I think Kenny represents a style of wrestling that the AEW fan base really jives with and connects with. I mean, in a lot of ways, he is. Even when he was in Japan, people over here in the States knew his name.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know, man. Like, you paying all those guys money, but you know, if you were just put it in a trade machine, right? If this was the NBA, and just say, for an example, if you could take the salary of Matt and Nick Jackson and Hangman Page, and you could trade that away and get like a Seth Rollins in a couple years when his contract comes up, I think you do that trade 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Easy. But like, you're not going to be able to get those guys if you've not wasted all your money, but like, it's like cap space. If you've got all your money tied up in these superstars, particularly if the ratings aren't going up.
Yeah. And how much are you making off merch and stuff to offset?
Right.
Like advertising dollars.
And I mean, Hangman was just, while CM Punk was there, he was kind of a non-entity.
Yeah.
And there were moments when CM Punk was there that Punk was driving the ratings and they were doing over 1 million. So like, I don't know. There's a lot. AEW is going to be at a crossroads, I think, very soon. And probably them going head to head with NXT probably should act as a catalyst for some type of change. Because even like you and I, we've liked the stuff that MJF and Adam Cole have been doing. Hasn't been leading to ratings, though.
Yeah.
It's clearly not leading to ticket sales at live audience. And maybe some of this stuff is internal. Maybe it's not necessarily indicative of the content. But I saw a lot of people on Reddit were just like, when AEW comes to town, we have no clue. There's no ads. There's no billboards. There's nothing. Like when WWE does a house show, you're hearing about that 6 weeks before, and they're advertising all the matches that are going to be there.
Yeah, they're putting commercials and stuff on local TV.
Yeah, and that's for house shows.
Yeah.
That's not even for Monday Night Raws and stuff. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of questions. Like we have said this from the get-go. We don't know if Tony Khan is the guy that can lead this company to where it needs to be or where it wants to be if he is 100% fully in charge of everything. And these are just harsh talks and harsh realities that he's going to have to come to grips with. But is he going to come to grips with it? He's a billionaire's son.
Yeah.
He's fucking bankrolling the company. Like, he ain't got to do shit.
I think he's probably just going to do what he wants and be like, this is my company.
Which is sad, man, because like we talked about that. I think AEW represents a type of like wrestling oasis and a promised land that fans like you and I have kind of gravitated to. That's why we gravitate to the product.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to give me only one option or, you know, one choice right now and say, you got to watch one or the other, I'm going AEW. I mean, just because it's been consistently better to me. Now, it doesn't translate into the viewers necessarily, but, you know, I don't know what's happening there. Obviously, there's been a lot of great stuff this last year in WWE, and there hadn't really been the last few years. But, yeah, I don't know, man. It's tricky. Like, I guess we'll find out a lot in the morning, which leads me to this. basically the only reason I'm still on Twitter now is because of the podcast account. We don't have a huge following there, but I'm trying to get off Twitter. Like, it's such a shitstorm over there these days. I'm trying to figure out, or like most people gonna like migrate to Threads or to Blue Sky. So if y'all are listening and you have a preference, holler at us on Twitter, I guess, and let us know where you're going to be. We do have a Threads account at the moment. We barely use it, and I haven't signed up for Blue Sky yet. I'm just trying to figure out. That's like one more thing or two more things to keep up with every week, and it's like
it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of stuff pops off on Twitter for wrestling still, so it's just kind of a nightmare over there these days. So yeah, holler at us and let us know where you are, and maybe we'll eventually set up a Blue Sky account and get over there. But yeah, I mean, we'll know a lot in the morning how this all goes. I mean, there's always Reddit that you can check on and stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, if you think back to like WCW, like WCW didn't become a company and then all of a sudden Monday Night Nitro hit. Like, they had been a company for a decade before they beat WWE in the ratings.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's still time with AEW. It's just that AEW has had so much success so early that in a lot of people's eyes, once you hit that success, like there should be no reason for you to go back down. It should only be on the up and up and up. And it's just kind of weird watching AEW go through these ebbs and flows where like it's good and then it's like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then you go, what the fuck is going on?
So speaking of that business model that you brought up earlier, there's been rumors about several AEW people want to jump ship and go to WWE when their contracts are up. The one I've heard about the most is Ricky Starks. He's good friends with Cody.
Yeah.
That would probably have a lot to do with it. Who else have you read about anybody else in particular, or is it just hearsay?
No, the reports that I saw were like WWE has their eye on certain people. Ricky would be up there. I think they'd be really interested in bringing Swerve back. I talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know who you would want to. If I'm WWE, those would be the two guys, and I would have Swerve at the top of that list over Ricky Starks, as much as I like Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
Big Bill also might be a guy that WWE might be interested in bringing back, There is no denying how over Enzo and Cass were as a tag team. They were one of the hottest acts in the company when they were going.
Yeah.
And now Big Bill, obviously, he's on the other side of some personal issues he had. Now he's a tag team champion. Looks like he's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
Wardlow, I have to think, would be another guy that WWE was probably interested in.
Yeah.
And probably another guy, much like a Jade Cargill, somebody that would fit better in WWE and that style of sports entertainment wrestling than necessarily AEW. So
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of going back and forth. That's what makes it exciting on a week-to-week basis. It's like, we get Adam Copeland comes in to AEW, and then like there'll be somebody else that jump ship from AEW to WWE, and they'll go back and forth, and it'll be like that as long as there's competition. Having an alternative and having competition is good. It's good that North American wrestling has two prominent promotions. It's just that one seems incredibly profitable. That's to put it mildly. And the content is, like you said, WWE has been way better these past couple of years than what it's been maybe the past 5. In AEW, who does really good content from time to time, some of the best content we've probably ever seen, but there's 2,000 people in an arena that sits 14,000.
Yeah.
And it stands out. It's a stark difference between the two.
Yeah. So this is a thing that I've thought about, and we don't have to go on very long because we need to get into some of the wrestling from the week. But when you could tell that the sales are pretty low, like at what point, 15 minutes before the show, do you start sending ushers up and be like, go ahead and bring some of these folks on down?
Well, I think they did.
Oh, did they?
I think that's how few people there were there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because there was nobody sitting up top. Yeah, and I heard people say like the ticket prices are way too expensive. Like I said, this could just be an internal thing. Like maybe AEW needs to book smaller venues. Maybe they need to lower their ticket prices. Maybe they need to advertise better. I mean, keep in mind, they have been a company for only 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they're still trying to learn the business. But you would think, like, 5 years, that's got to be enough time, right?
Yeah, and they've even changed, like, the production on TV. Because remember how the production the first few weeks of Collision, we were talking about how different it looked. And, they had pretty full arenas at that point, or at least the bottom, and they had them lit up real well, and it's not like that.
But even they're having production issues still. I mean, they had the thing a couple weeks ago where the MJF Adam Cole package just didn't have any audio coming across the TV, and they had to play it again. Like, they still have these kind of issues where you're like, man, after 5 years, you would think you guys would have it figured out. And I don't know, maybe, like I said, for as much as people like to shit on Vince McMahon, none of this shit would be happening under him.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any fights backstage. Like, because again, keep in mind too, like, we're only a few months away from Tony Khan having to, like, soft split the roster because the guys literally couldn't fucking work together.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of issues and there are a lot of problems, but I don't think they're insurmountable for AEW. It's just, they gotta surmount them, I guess.
So let's go on and get into Fastlane. Very shocking out of the gate match: Cody and Jay versus Finn and Damian. And Cody and Jay pick up the win. Not what I expected at all. I do have a question before we get into it, though. And this is a question I've been meaning to talk to somebody about for several years since I started watching wrestling again. And I've thought about it a few times and never really mentioned it, but my wife, we were watching the other night, and she was like, why is that not illegal? So when you've got a tag team match, you got one guy trying to get the pin on the other, and the guys, somebody comes in and breaks it up, one of the guys that's not legal. Why is that not like a DQ or something? Like,
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the rule is you get 3 of those. I don't think I just made that up. I think that is it. Yes, it is illegal, but I think you can only do it 3 times.
Okay.
Before you get DQ'd.
Okay. Well, in the 5 years I've been watching wrestling, I've never seen anybody get DQ'd.
Oh yeah, they don't. Yeah, it's like you're not supposed to punch. You're not supposed to have close fist punch.
Yeah.
And everybody does it. It's one of those type of things.
Okay.
They're like rules in wrestling that aren't really rules. But yeah, I think you get 3. See, that's what I'm talking about. All these AEW, WWE, they should have a rule book on the website.
Yeah.
It's a tab. You just rules, and it tells you the rules of the match.
Yeah. I had no answer for her the other day. She was like, why is that? Why aren't they getting called? I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just a thing that happens, and I just rolled with it ever since I started watching wrestling again.
Well, it's things, and it's like, if you think about wrestling too much like that, that's stuff, like the Irish whip, right? Like, why do guys keep running? Like, if you ever tried to, like, whip somebody, you can just stop. I don't care how strong you are. When you try to throw somebody, when you let them go, they can physically, they're either going to fall head first or they're going to just stop. They're not going to hit the ropes and keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's wrestling logic for you.
Well, yeah, so let's get in the match, and then we can talk about the press conference.
I mean, yeah, I thought the match was fine. I was surprised by the ending of it, particularly because Finn and Damian have been an established tag team now for a bit. And had Cody and Jay ever tagged before? They didn't have a tag team match before this, did they?
Not that I ever know.
So the 2 singles guys coming together beating an established tag team. I'm never that much of a fan of that. But this makes sense because you have to have some kind of reason. Like, it allows Cody to insert himself back into the bloodline.
It's a side quest.
The thing.
Somebody, I saw that today, called it one of Cody's side quests before he gets to finish the story.
Yeah. It allows Cody and Jay to be on both shows. So they can be on SmackDown when Roman Reigns comes back. They have reason to be over there. I would suspect that Roman causes them to lose these championships at some point. Like, Cody and Jay are not going to go into WrestleMania as a tag team champs. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate they're going to have these belts very long. Who they lose to is a different question entirely. They could just lose them back to the Judgment Day with a Roman Reigns interference. But yeah, it was a surprising conclusion to the match. And yeah, the press conference was a thing in and of itself.
Yeet.
They have something with Jay, man. Like, it's kind of crazy his blossoming into a single star. I know now he's a tag team champion again, but these are essentially two single stars coming together. He's not being a part of an established tag team again. So, yeah, his charisma these past couple of years has really come out, and I don't know if they're going to go the full blown comedy route with Cody and Jay, because Big Bad Roman Reigns is about to make his return back into the WWE, and shit's about to get serious again. But that press conference, like, it has some legs to it.
Yeah. They, I mean, if you didn't see it, I didn't watch it until we got a text from a friend of the show, Steven, talking about how they were drunk at the press conference, and Cody was like, "Yeah, me and we call him Oot instead of Oos.
Yeah,
me and Oot might have had a couple of libations on the bus after our match, and then they were both just cracking
Jay
up.
Being like, she been here since both our daddies was here." And then you feel me? You feel me? Like, do you feel him, sir?
Do you feel him, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good stuff. We don't have to spend too much time with that. It'd be way more worth your time to go look that up if you haven't seen it yet. So, yeah, we texted a little bit about this, but this match and the main event were the two best ones, and everything else in between was just like, okay, even the match with LA Knight and John Cena was just kind of fine. Like, it was, nothing to write home about.
It was typical WWE style.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what they do. And this is why, like, and me personally, I'm not a fan of the ring work for a lot of WWE matches.
Yeah.
Like I said, the opening match was fine. There were moments in the last man standing match I thought were good too. There were also some moments where I was like, if AEW did this, y'all be putting this shit on blast. Like,
with the mattress.
If AEW did that, there would be so many, like, told y'all this was Edge never should have win. This is a second class, blah, 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 blah. These is minor leagues. But, like I think I said this last week. Everything WWE does can't be good simply just because WWE does it. And everything AEW does can't just only be bad because AEW is doing it. Like, you got to be critical of both companies. And yeah, the mattress spot in the production, I think the camera guy probably was just too wide on the shot and probably wasn't, but you could clearly see, like, it's a fucking mattress. He bounced when he hit. Yeah. And just like, we've seen last man standing match. I know we're jumping ahead, but we might as well fucking jump here. Because is there anything in the middle you want to talk about before we start talking about this?
I mean, nothing really, I
mean, it was cool. LA Knight got the John Cena treatment.
Yeah.
He looks like a star. That's a cool moment for him. The triple threat match was fine, but it's not any of those women's best matches by a long shot.
And then there was, Street Profits and Bobby Lashley.
Which,
Carlito comes back to help him get the win.
Cool to see Carlito if he's going to be full-time. If he's not, this is now the second time they've done the save.
Yeah, I mean, everything the last couple months said that, like, Carlito was canceling indie events and stuff and telling people that he was going back. So
I'm not interested in Carlito joining the LWO. I'm interested in Carlito being a heel and feuding with Rey Mysterio in the LWO. That's a lot cooler.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we can take a little time with the main event because we need to get to some collision stuff too.
Yeah, there were like, if you're WWE, some of those spots, like, we've seen good last man standing matches in WWE that didn't do the thing where, like, you're trying to portray somebody getting kicked off and hitting the concrete floor, but, like, he hits a mattress. Just don't do that spot then.
There were a couple of moments where I was like, okay, well, they're leaning into this a little bit because AEW gets away with so much, especially on their pay-per-views. And at one point they peel up the pad by the ring and didn't do anything there. I was like, so are they going back there? What's happening? Like,
and they went back there.
They did finally go back there. And then, like, they set up the ladder by the announce table and then left from it and then finally ended up back over there. But I thought they were just going to tease us with some of that for a minute. But I mean, overall, I thought this was a better match than the last match between Rollins and Nakamura. There were a couple of oh shit moments for real. I mean, I thought the mattress spot even still looked pretty cool, even though you could tell it was a fucking mattress, you know?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that spot. What's there? I like the mist spot with the announce table. I thought was cool. Again, though, like whenever you have a competitor / an alternative, you have to kind of fight against the tendency sometimes, I think, to try to be like that person's product. What I don't want to have happen is WWE try to do an AEW style hardcore match and they have spots like where somebody lands on a mattress. And I don't want AEW to try to be WWE light. Like the WWE does what they do well. Keep running in that direction. AEW does what they do well. They should keep running in that direction. We don't need a lot of like crossover because it's just not going to work. Like if Darby Allin's going to take the bump, Darby Allin's taking the bump to the concrete. Mm-hmm. Not smart. I wouldn't advise to do it. Yeah. But that's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So I felt like there was a little bit, there's like a tendency to try to up the ante here, but they still want to make it safe, which is the right way to go about it. I mean, I'm not knocking them. But like I said, just don't do these certain spots that look a little hokey. You can do a dramatic last man standing match and not have it be guys getting kicked off the concourse, but they land on mattresses and roll off and stuff like that. But I did think, like you said, this match was better than their last match. It seems like they never had any interest in putting the belt on Shinsuke at all, which is a little, I mean, I get it. They're just going to move Shinsuke back. Like you saw, he's feuding with Ricochet now on Monday Night Raw. I mean, he's just going to go back to being kind of a non-entity in WWE, which is sort of a shame because I like this villainous character of Shinsuke. And for Seth, look, Seth is still clearly over. He's still one of the top 3 to 4 stars in that company. The crowd is firmly behind him, and he had a good showing. And he's doing a good job of selling the back injury. And there were spots in here that were really good, I thought. And then there were some that was just like, man, do what you do, man. Y'all stay in y'all's lane.
Yeah. Yeah. I told you this yesterday, but I ended up just working until I couldn't anymore last night. Next thing I know, it was like 10 o'clock, I think, when I texted him. He was like, I totally forgot Raw was fucking on tonight. I was working and I had the Braves on in the background. I was like, something feels weird. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, there was wrestling tonight.
So the big thing was, okay, so Fastlane, well, the whole point of the Judgment Day leading up to this was like, there's no leader, right? That's what they've said. They have now acknowledged Rhea Ripley is clearly the leader. She is bossing around Damian Priest.
2 months ago.
Yeah, Damian Priest. She takes a briefcase from Fastlane's like, not tonight. Well, he jumps. Drew McIntyre comes out. Looks like he's going to be a heel. Or at least a tweener. Because he's got the obvious. Anytime somebody goes from not wearing a cool leather jacket to wearing a black leather jacket, that's when you know like a heel turn is coming. It's like intimate. So he's challenging Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, which should be good. And then Damian Priest jumps Seth Rollins from behind. But somehow forgets the fucking briefcase. What are we doing? Yeah. That is the one possession. If you are Mr. Money in the Bank.
Senior Money in the Bank.
Senior Money in the Bank. That thing should stay with you all the time. He fucking brings it down for all of the random matches. Every backstage segment he's in. He's holding that fucking briefcase. And then the one time he goes to jump the world champion, actually like physically, he doesn't have the briefcase.
Yeah, text from Patrick last night was all caps. What the fuck did he leave the briefcase in the back?
What is it like? What? And kayfabe explained that to me. And then, of course, Dominic Mysterio, he motions to the back. Dominic Mysterio comes running down with the referee. Drew McIntyre just stops Dominic, gives him a headbutt, and then just yeets that son of a bitch briefcase, which was pretty fucking cool. But like, at this point, I can't buy that the Judgment Day are like real threats because they clearly have no plan about anything. They're just aloof most of the time. They have no plan of action to try to get that world heavyweight title off of Seth Rollins. And like, I don't know, what do they do with the briefcase at this point?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you buy Damian Priest as a world heavyweight champion?
I mean, you kind of little instances like that make it seem like
they lose credibility.
Yeah.
Like
it's not important.
Well, they just don't seem dangerous. Like there's nothing dangerous really about the Judgment Day. Like Dominic is essentially a comedy act. He's a chicken shit heel. He's good at it. He's fantastic at it. But that's what he is.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley is clearly the leader. But she is the women's champion. She's not getting involved. Like, she's not going to become world heavyweight champion. Finn Balor, his time has come and gone. He's still, a superstar. He's still great, but
sure.
Like he's not going to be the guy on the show anymore. So that leaves Damian Priest in limbo. But when you present him like this, or you present him where like Rhea Ripley's like, not tonight, give me the briefcase, and he doesn't have any, he just goes along with it. Like he pushes back a little, but he just does it. Like, I don't know. I just don't buy him as a world heavyweight champion. The Judgment Day stuff, I know they want to present them as like, oh man, they're just as blah, 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 just as dominant as the Bloodline. No, I mean, they're not though. When you present them in this type of way.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing. And then the Cody and Jay versus KO and Sammy for the main event for the title last night. Sammy and Kevin just put over Cody and Jay clean, middle of the ring, no interference. I was like, that's a little surprising. Because you thought, this is a classic Smoz where the WWE, where the Judgment Day interferes and it ends in a DQ and they forget about it and whatever. No, they just beat them.
So like, since I missed it, did KO and Sammy just be like, hey, that's cool, y'all got the belts, but we want them back? Or how was that presented?
Yeah, it was like that. Y'all got the belts, we want them back.
Yeah.
And they set it up for the main event later in the show. So, I mean, looking at Sammy and Kevin, WrestleMania is around the corner. It's a few months away. You got to think at this point they're wrestling each other. Yeah. There's some kind of heel turn from Kevin probably coming.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and then I ran across somebody's TikTok where they had predictions for what they thought.
I mean, I would have.
That's probably it.
I think Sammy and Kevin. I think you do Jimmy versus Jay, and Cody versus Roman. Gunther versus Seth would probably be sort of the big marquee matches that would be going in there. And I don't think we see The Rock. We could possibly see John Cena.
I mean, the moment has come and gone for that, if they were going to bring The Rock into that.
I think so, but if The Rock says, hey, I want to do WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Those plans are probably already locked in place, though, I would think. Because he needs at least a couple months to get ready.
Yeah.
To get back into ring shape in any kind of capacity.
Unless you're Cena, you just come on when they go on strike.
Yeah, and he'll be gone. Like he's even said, like when the actor strike is over, he's going back. Yeah. He was in the middle of a project.
Yeah.
And then that leaves a guy like LA Knight. What are his WrestleMania plans? I predicted that he gets a shot at Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. So does he become a U.S. champion, or does he become Intercontinental champion at WrestleMania? Something like that, probably my guess. But yeah, I think they do Sammy and Kevin at WrestleMania.
Well, let's switch gears and get into, since we recorded late last week, we don't have Dynamite from last week because we did it then.
Yeah.
But we do have some Collision notes. We mentioned Ricky Starks and Big Bill winning. My only real notes was that it wasn't even much of a challenge. They just came out there and beat the shit out of FTR. And apparently Wheeler has got an injured hand, is what I read was the reasoning for making it go down like it did and then switching the hands.
So, but why did this have to be a squash? Like we just saw MJF take on two guys in the Righteous in a handicap match. He beats both of them.
Good point.
Like, even if Cash can't wrestle, Dax has gone toe-to-toe this past year with Danielson.
Yeah, I mean, you could still put Wheeler in a couple situations and disguise the fact that, he's got a fuck.
Or you could just do it. I'm okay with them doing what they do. They put him to the table at the beginning, like, cool. But Dax Harwood is capable enough of a wrestler. He should be able to put up a fight. He shouldn't. I felt like this should not have been a squash whatsoever.
Yeah.
them squashing FTR, I don't think it does for Ricky and Big Bill what management thinks it's going to do for them. Because Ricky didn't do any of the work, really. Because Big Bill just beat the shit and choke slam Dax a ton of times. So I think even if, and I'm not saying it had to go 20 minutes, but if it went 12 and Dax is doing a valiant effort and he's trying, but like Cash gets up on the apron and he tries to tag in Cash, but like shit, Cash can't go. He tags back in Dax. Like, have some drama to it. You know what I mean? This was just a straight up boom, shellacking, and it's over.
Yeah, it was very, out of left field, it felt like, but it was just also like when they did get the 3 count, I was like, wait, for real? Like having to just kind of look around and be like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, but it's not, like you said, you're like a little shocked, but it's not the good kind of shocked where you're like, I can't believe that. You're like, what the, you're kind of just like, why'd they do that? What was that for? Like I said, Dax could have put up an effort. He's, the fans are behind FTR. He's a babyface. Like, let him go a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, they just squashed him. So, and if you, like I said, they didn't know this injury was coming, but would it have made more sense to have Bullet Club Gold beat FTR for these titles? That way when Jay White is across the ring from MJF, he can be like, you're a tag team champion, but you're a tag team champion on that show. I'm the champion on this show, and I'm about to be the world champion on this show. Like, then you have a dichotomy of these two guys. They're both the equal type of thing. So I don't know. That was just another kind of suggestion I had, but maybe they didn't get to that because injuries happened and shit popped up, and it is what it is. So
speaking of MJF, did you see his Instagram post from, I think it was yesterday?
No, what'd he say?
It's him backstage and he's like praying.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Did you read all of it?
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about, religion is an important thing and his Jewish faith and all that. And I was like, well, this is sincere. And then is like, love everybody. And then at the very end, it's like, except Jay White, fuck that guy.
Yeah, which was great.
Should have seen it coming. But
typical MJF fashion.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff.
The next note I have is about Toni Storm, and she was passing out scripts to the ref and to Hogan, right?
Yep, and she gave him Rick Abani. Yeah. God, she's great. She's absolutely great. She's the best thing on AEW. Yeah. She's the best thing in wrestling right now. And I think she's lapping the competition.
I wonder whose idea that was. If it was hers or if somebody else backstage came up with it.
I don't know, but it's brilliant. The black and white filter, the fact that even the announce team, the music, even the fact the announce team is getting, the announce team's confused by it. Like, everybody is confused by it. The scripts thing, handing out the scripts is brilliant. Absolutely fucking brilliant.
Have you seen the close-up of it?
I did see the close-up of it, yeah. Posting it. She should give out, next time I would give out scripts to the fans.
Yeah.
I think that was the only thing. I would have a huge stack. Or like some no-name assistant who is just handing out sides to everyone on the front row.
Yeah. When I saw the scripts thing, I was like, because I thought too, I was like, she's got to have more of those.
Yeah.
But then it would be funny too if like the people on the edges, like right as you come down the ramp, right, the ones closest to the ring, if they've got like 8x10s, she walks by and signs some autographs and shit on the way. That'd be funny as shit.
I told y'all this woman she's going to be a huge thing in wrestling. Just give it time. And every week she gets better. And the crowd starting to come around, even in Salt Lake City, as few people as there were, they were making a lot of noise for Toni Storm. The titty slap thing is it's going to be huge. The fact she throws to break.
So it's always, the last 2 weeks it's been the throw of the break.
And then time for a titty slap.
And then she goes in for the titty slap. And she was like talking to the people in the ring this time. Because last time I felt like she was just announcing in general, like, a titty slap. But like she looked at the people in the front row, was like, "Y'all want to see a titty slap?"
Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely brilliant. She's going to be. She should be like. She'll be champion again. She'll be a 3-time champion.
Yeah.
And like we talked about last week, it's just kind of crazy how sometimes like people continue to get better, and like this is such a difference from her other character. Which her other character really wasn't anything. Toni Storm was just like
she's just a wrestler.
She was generic, backwards hat, leather jacket, rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit, everybody fucking does that. But this is
some next level shit.
This is one of one. There's no one that has ever done anything like this, and it's a joy. It's a joy to watch. And yeah, we will see. I mean, I'd put that belt on her sooner rather than later. Let it build up though a little bit. Don't hot shot her to it. But
yeah, I mean, because Saraya has only had one title defense since Wembley.
Yeah, and I'll ask you, who feels like a bigger deal right now in the women's division?
When was the last time Saraya was on TV?
So there you go. Sometimes the person makes the belt makes the person. I think that women's championship belt at this point, especially if we in another month or so, we'll need Toni Storm.
I mean, I get why you had to do Saraya at Wembley, but
it's a feel-good moment.
Yeah, but sooner rather than later, they're gonna have to come back around and get it back on Toni.
Yeah, she's doing the best work of her career.
So the last thing I've got is the Adam Copeland promo. Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne attack him. Darby Allin makes the save, and then Darby gets beat down by Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus, and Copeland's getting beat down too. So, I said I didn't want to see Wayne go heel, but it makes sense. You were totally right. Because what else are they going to do with him right now?
Yeah, and he got to have was it Collision where he got his backstage vignette where he explained? Yeah, I thought that was a good explanation. The one thing I thought they did miss that they should have brought up, and I don't know if maybe they didn't want to bring this up because this person might be on the outs with the company. AR Fox beat down Nick Wayne, and then Darby just forgave him. More than likely because he had to, because they had to get him off the Wembley thing, AR Fox. But yeah, that's a thing where a writing staff would have been like, hey, you also need to mention this. Something about AR Fox left me in a bloody heap in my own house.
Yeah.
And you just forgave him like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Again, that adds a little bit of an element to it.
So did something happen with Fox? What it was?
Yeah, I think he's on the outs. I don't think management was too happy.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think it came out that he didn't disclose that he couldn't work overseas, and they built this whole thing up. And then, so I think the reports were Tony was kind of pissed. And so I think that's, when one guy pulls all the strings, you piss him off. There you go. That's the way it goes. So
yeah, well, that sucks.
We got more Bullet Club Gold Saturday night too.
Yeah,
Card Blade.
Yeah.
I just love that group, man.
They were Jay was like, "You're forgetting something."
Yep.
And he had to point over a Card Blade.
Yeah. So that's great.
I still haven't seen those on the website. Oh, I haven't looked in a week.
The Card Blades,
mini ones. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's making them because I didn't see one in the crowd this week, but somebody's making them somewhere. And
I thought the Danielson Fletcher Max was really, really good. Yeah, I know you didn't mention that, but that, I thought that was that's the shit I love. But maybe that's not the shit that is gonna expand your fan base.
Yeah. So I read too though that Mark Davis broke his wrist.
Yeah, he broke his wrist.
So that's why I guess we're gonna get some solo Fletcher for a while.
Yeah, which is good. I think Fletcher's got a lot of potential, but right now in the state that AEW is in, does it make sense for them as a company to have a humongous star like Bryan Danielson wrestling a dude, even a guy like Fletcher who is extremely talented, not that well known to the majority of wrestling fans? Is Bryan Danielson's is his time better served wrestling a dude like Swerve, who he's going to wrestle here in the next hour or so? Or
50 minutes.
Is he better going up against Adam Copeland or, the big names? AEW is not, as much as we want AEW to do long-term storytelling, they're really kind of not in the position where they can do that.
Yeah.
They kind of just have to be like, here's the fucking card, boom. And let's play it, let's figure it out. Let's try to get this product hot again. Then maybe we can have the luxury of doing some other things. But again, it's the stop-start. House of Black has just completely disappeared off of AEW television.
Yeah. Yeah, what's up with that?
That can't happen. Miro has the match for Powerhouse Hobbs. People are chanting meat. Disappears off television. This cannot happen. It can't.
Yeah, it seems like Miro's going to be one of those that would suffer from the quote unquote lack of brand split.
But like for as talented as what Kyle Fletcher and Aussie Open are, maybe they shouldn't be employed by AEW. You know, there's only at the end of the day, there's only so many spots.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, there's so many dudes who are just in the wait, who go for months at a time. Andrade sporadically pops up. Like, why is Danielson not in a feud with Andrade?
Yeah, Andrade was kind of carrying Collision. I mean, besides CM Punk the first couple months, and then they just haven't had him on. I don't know what the fuck is their problem.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I do not know, and it just makes me worried for the future of the company because this. Listen, WWE when they find a good thing, like if Timeless Tony Storm was happening in WWE, every third segment she'd be on that screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like Andrade, all of the stars. Swerve, my God, if they got Swerve would be all over one of the programs. He would be a focal point, and he would week after week because that's what they do with Jay, and that's what they do with Cody and Sammy and Kevin when they're not injured. Yeah. Like when Roman Reigns comes back, he's gonna be everywhere.
Yeah,
Paul Heyman, Solo, like the WWE is anchored by a handful of people who are legit, who are over with the crowd, and they have a forward momentum to the show. I mean, that is why Judgment Day operates the way it is. They have Rhea Ripley in that group. Every third or fourth segment, there's some Judgment Day segment backstage.
True.
AEW, just for whatever reason, just decides to not do that. And I think that's what hurts the product. I think if AEW took a similar booking mentality to WWE and was just like, hey, Collision is House of Black, and it's Andrade, and it's Bryan Danielson, and it's Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Dynamite is Omega, and it's Moxley, and it's, you know, whoever, the Bucks or FTR. And every single week you tune in the show, you're going to see something by them. Not a backstage segment, but something prolonged, you know, couple minutes, 5 minutes of screen time at least if they're not wrestling. And that's who we're going to build the program around. And the guys, like, for as much as this dude's talented, the Kyle Fletchers of the world, and the Kiera Hogans of the world, and the fucking Angelico and Commander and all these, they got to go. They're not on TV right now.
Yeah.
It sucks for those guys. I don't want anybody to lose jobs, but like,
it'll work.
We're trying to run a business.
Yeah.
You know?
A couple of those dudes go back to NJPW.
New Japan or like on the indies or, you know, everybody can't be a big time player in wrestling, you know, as much as everybody wants to be. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, you got any final thoughts? Or are we going to wrap it up?
No, I think that's it. It's 6:15. We're wrapping up on Tuesday. So 45 minutes. The Tuesday Night War kicks off.
See what happens. It'll be old news by the time we get to it next week, but y'all holler at us on X or Twitter, as it were, and let us know your thoughts and where to find you, because we may be shutting her down soon and moving to one of those others and leaving old Naziville behind.
Old Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's pretty wild over there these days. But yeah, holler at us and follow our network of podcasters at thealabamatake.com. You can find the Alabama Take on all social medias. We've got a bunch of different podcasts over there, a weekly pop culture podcast, TV podcast called Taking It Down, sports podcast called Taking On Sports, another sports podcast called The Stare Down, monthly book podcast called Check Your Shelf, and Star Wars podcast with me and a couple of my friends called We Are a Star War. We've got some Ahsoka recaps going up there. They're now up and recording our last one tomorrow about episodes 7 and 8, and maybe a couple of small bonus episodes as well. So go look those up, and you can find those in any podcast app and on YouTube as well if you just search for the Alabama Take for any of those. So we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Later, guys.